Hello, everybody. We are here with my friend Stephanie Setmire, who is Dyslexia Super Girl. And she's going to talk to everyone today about the early warning signs or signs of dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, and similar neurodiversities. So, Stephanie, tell us, what is your background with the young children?
All right, my name's Stephanie Setmire, and my background is I've taught infant through age 5 for the last 21 years. I've worked in public and private preschools, so that includes 3 months to 5 years old is my expertise of why I know about early childhood.
And did you mention how long you've been doing it?
For 21 years, and this coming January will be 22 years.
That is incredible. Dedicated to little kids for so many years.
Definitely.
So tell us, what are some of the signs that you notice in as early as babies? Would you start with the babies and then work your way up?
Sure, I'd love to. There's developmental milestones that each child hits as they are developing. I'll just give an example of one of the developmental milestones because there's many with the infants all the way up to age 5. But with infants, I'll give you an example of crawling. Children, first they start to roll over and then they start crawling. The one main one is with walking. There's children that I've seen as young as 9 months old that have started walking as old as 16 months. And that's a wide range. I would say the average is about a year old. But if your child misses a step, let's say when your child is first learning how to sit up, they can't sit up on their own, and maybe they don't sit up until 7 or 8 months or even 10 months, that's something to be concerned about. The other part is if you have a child who, when they started crawling, instead of crawling, they either skid on their bottom and they scoot their legs, or they army crawl on the floor where they just move their arms to move their body, or if they just roll on the carpet to get around, that's not typical. That's something to look out for. And the other part is if your child goes from, let's say they just go from rolling on the floor to get around or flapping their feet, and then they don't ever crawl where they're moving their right and their left, their body at the same time. So you'd be moving your right and your right side first of your body, your right arm and your right knee, and then your left arm and your left knee, and you're going kind of in sync. That is something also to look out for. If they're only using one side of their body, or if they're using their right arm and their left leg, that's not typical. And so the problem is that I know that sounds crazy, but at that young age, if they're not getting the neuro connections to their brain that you're using, going to right to left, just like when you read and you read, you read from left to right, there's a order and a system to it. That can be a problem, not just for dyslexia, but for other learning challenges. And so that's something to definitely look out for. The other part is once they, when they're at 12 months, if they just started, the thing is that go together is also when they start walking, they start talking. So if you have a child who's 9 months and they start walking at 9 months, a lot of times those children will start talking at 9 months. And then if your child is late at walking, they're going to be 16 months. And at 16 months, they'll start talking. Well, that's really late. They should already have quite a few words that you're able to recognize. The other thing is if you have a baby and after they start talking, even at a year old, once they go to 2, we're talking about 2-year-olds as well, and you're not understanding what they're telling you, that's definitely a red flag too, not just for dyslexia, but for other learning challenges. If you don't hear the sound, like they're making sounds and trying to say stuff, and you're the only one that understands it because you understand whatever language it is, or if they're mixing up vowels or saying words incorrectly, that's definitely a huge red flag. that you can that you need to look for. And then the nice part is there's also resources. It's called the ASQSE. One is for social emotional, and one is for just the developmental milestones of your child. And you can even look it up online, it's free. So as a parent, or if you have a teacher you're concerned, you can go to the website and pull up, there's even a calculator if your child is born premature. So the premature, like it's called the ASQ calculator, and it calculates what assessment you do for your child. And so it gives you kind of typical things that your child should be doing within their age range. And if they're not, then it gives you the pointers and tips. And then you could even go to from 0 to age 3, it's the regional center is in charge of helping your child. And then after age 3, the actual whatever school district that your child is going to go to when they turn to kindergarten or TK, that school is actually responsible for your child. If they have special needs or special services at age 3, they are responsible for your child if they need extra help. So those are the two places that you would get help for them.
Interesting. So my youngest son got help at age 3. He started speech therapy, and then they put him in the preschool program at our local school for the next 2 years. And he kind of did a commando crawl at some point. I have 4 children, so I don't remember, too much detail about
them. Yeah, of course.
But I don't feel like he did it for that long. Is that, it doesn't matter that it's not for that long?
No, it does. It does. It's that like you said, kind of where he moved just his arms but not much his legs. Like
yeah, that but only for a little bit.
Yeah. The thing is that the children that master that also master other skills, because it's actually connected to your brain and how your brain's wired. And so when you're not crawling all around and getting those the connections in your brain, then later there's more things that are make it complicated that maybe you might have more of a challenge with. Because
he did have a lot of challenges, and he didn't talk probably really until he was about 3. He grunted, and we all understood what his grunts were.
Yeah.
And and since he was the youngest, everyone gave him what he wanted.
Yeah.
Until I finally said, okay, maybe it was 2, but I was like, we need to stop handing him what he wants and get him to start verbalizing.
Yeah, well, and that's like a good point that you bring up, that it was around 2 or 3. You can't quite remember, but those are definitely crucial times. Once they start walking, they should start talking, at least saying one word, bye-bye, mama, dada, something that you can clearly hear once they start walking. And if you're not hearing those, that is definitely a red flag, not just for dyslexia, but for autism, for other learning challenges. If your child's not speaking at that time when they start walking, that there's definitely, they can get that speech help that they need. And like you said, that the school district has wonderful services once they're 3. I know sometimes it's challenging to get them, but if they're that little, it's a little easier to get the services than if you wait until they're in TK or in kindergarten or even 1st, 2nd grade. Because they're so little, they can do really quick assessments. And the assessment I was telling you about is what they use for helping children in the public school. Like I work for the federal government preschool, and that's what they use in order for parents to kind of get help, is the ASQ SE that I told you about. And I will get to you the link so that you can be able to post it. And also the ASQ calculator, so because people are like, what is this that I'm talking about? But I will get you that information so you're able to post it up with the video as well. So because I think it's a great tool for parents, and also if any of the people watching this would like more information or even help going through one of them with their child that's infant through age 5, I'd love to help them, because I I know what they're asking and looking for, so I can kind of guide the parents and let them know, oh, hey, this is what they're asking you, you know, so that you can get the help that you need.
Well, awesome. So we'll also share contact information for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, awesome. So, how about for older students? What are some other characteristics or signs that you can share with parents?
For like older children that are like
For like 3 to 5, yeah.
yeah. 3 to 5, you know how the little ones start rhyming and learning how to rhyme and love like Dr. Seuss and love all that. That's one thing that if your child is having a difficulty rhyming, or they say the words wrong, you know, get them in the wrong order, that kind of thing is definitely a sign of specifically dyslexia. If you see your child is, and then the other part is their fine motor skills are also something that you can see at a very young age. But when they're getting, you know, 2 and 3, they're learning how to, especially 3, 4, and 5, they're learning how to, you know, just basic writing, not writing their name, but just basic scribbling and that kind of thing. And so that's also their fine motor skills, like not being able to, I know they're just learning how to cut with scissors and stuff like that. But if they're having a really hard time with cutting with scissors, drawing or holding anything, you know, they're just learning. But if they're having a lot of challenge just starting with that, because the very beginning of that is even, you know, picking up Play-Doh and moving it. And then even the fine motor at the infant age is like just picking up rattles and picking up things with their hands and manipulating things. So if they're having a hard time with that, even when they're older, you know, the 3, 4, and 5-year-olds, that's definitely something to look out for.
Yeah, that was the case with my daughter. I taught preschool, and I had a little preschool at my house, and she was in my preschool, and she could not cut with scissors. And she is now 25 years old and still cannot cut paper well with scissors.
Yeah.
And she couldn't draw stick figures at the same, like the other kids could. It wasn't until she was probably, I want to say like 10, when she started having drawings that looked more like your average 5-year-old's drawings.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point too. Like, you know how they start drawing, I mean, this is very basic scribbling, but, you know, start drawing a circle where it starts here and goes here, even though it's not perfect because they're just learning. But that's another thing to look out for, is that you definitely, like, if they're not being able to, you know, start at one end and then end at the other, that is like the very beginning of learning how to write. And so that just the motion of being able to start in one spot and end at the other is the same thing that happens with, you know, there's also dysgraphia, where you have a hard time with the fine motor skills. And that's one of the things that if you're not able to do that, you're going to have a hard time writing letters, because letters start here, end here, and then you have to go down. And so you're not being able to do that at a young age. The kids that are good at that are a lot better at writing. And then
I'm trying to think about my son with dysgraphia, how he was with circles, but I can't remember.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's not just a circle, but, you know, the fine motor, like, like you were saying with the cutting with the scissors, and also drawing too.
And for my daughter, it was just those two things. It was just the cutting paper and drawing pictures. Like anything else she could do just fine.
Yeah.
And she's got profound dyslexia.
Yeah. Also I know that the little ones don't quite button stuff yet, or Velcro, or put on shoes, or take off shoes. But I know at my school, the 2-year-olds learn how to take off and put on their Velcro shoes. And so that's another sign too, is having a hard time getting dressed. Once they start getting more to 4 and 5, and they should be able to, with not like buttons and zippers and stuff, but being able to dress themselves. And that's another sign of having some fine motor and having some directionality challenges that you might have with dyslexia, is actually getting yourself dressed. And then the other thing in preschool is there's a lot of routines. And so the children that have a hard time with like, okay, first we're going to wash our hands. Next, we're going to get a paper towel. And then after we dry our hands, we're going to sit at the table. And they're not able to follow those simple, easy instructions, even though you do them over and over again. That's also something to look into. I mean, not all children, it's like the typical norm, like that normally they don't, you can't give them a whole, but like 10 directions or something. But even if it's just 2-step directions, having a hard time following the 2-step directions of something that's a routine you do every day.
Yeah, and that's a very common struggle for older dyslexic kids as well. Is parents will tell them, go do this, 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 and this, and they'll go do just this.
Yeah.
And then parents get mad because they're like, what happened to the other 4 things?
Yeah, I had that problem as a child. I mean, my mom would like say, okay, go get the stuff out of the laundry and then fold that and then get the towels and do something else. And I'm in the garage staring at the washer and dryer. And I'm like, I don't know what else I'm supposed to do. And she'd always be like frustrated with me. But if you would have written them out just to tell me, hey, do these 3 things or have a picture of the 3 things, I would have been
pictures.
Yeah, pictures would have been way better, but giving me verbal directions and give me a whole bunch. Oh no.
Yeah. If you're an auditory learner, then that's not as much of an issue probably, but I know I'm not an auditory learner.
No, I have to see it. Otherwise it goes out my brain.
Yeah, I have to write it, feel it.
Yeah.
Well, Stephanie, is there anything else you want to add about, things for the little ones to look out for? You've given us so much information.
Yeah, I would say the other one is like your gut feeling, like as a mom or dad that's watching this, if you think there's something not quite right going on with your child, you need to just go with it, and then don't let people who tell you, oh no, everything's fine, and just pass them along, but go and get the extra help and whatever you're looking for. Don't bypass your gut feeling that maybe there's something a little different about your child, even though you love them a whole bunch, you love them more than anything, but that you should go get it checked out, and it's okay. And your kids are going to be okay. And it's also, the other disclaimer I want to say too is that these are things that I've observed being a preschool teacher, but don't beat yourself up if your child is older and you saw maybe these, you are listening to this now and go, oh, those are maybe some signs of things that happened to my child. Don't beat yourself up. It's okay. Like, it's all right. Like, don't worry about it. As long as you eventually get your child help, they're going to be fine, And so but it is, if you do have a little one, so definitely go get it checked out.
Those are both great points to bring up. Thank you for sharing those. And thank you for coming on again with us and sharing with the group so that everyone can benefit from your knowledge and experience.
Thank you so much for having me, Jess.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
And hopefully if people have other questions that you can address in the future, that we can count on you to share with us.
Oh, I would love to. Definitely. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.